founding journalist of the German news agency Data Department, which started in 2007 and closed down in kind of 2012. There's a skeleton of product there, but they were definitely too early for the data movement, and had definitely a business model that doesn't work in the news agency if you charge that for the customers. Anyway, sorry. But the good thing about the news agency is if you convince them that it's usual to get to conferences, I would get to conferences. So I would get to a data wedge conference called the Global Investigative Journalism Conference, which is every 18 months. This year is in Rio. If you're there or around at that time, I would suggest going there because it's mind-blowing. You get all the investigative people from the world get together and what they do with amazing stories. Mostly not with data, but still, what they do in their countries. But I was there, the conferences before the data track, and so the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, the ICIJ, got my contact details and asked me to come over to Washington in 2012 because they had something. They had a hard drive with 260 gigabytes of very chaotic data, kind of scraped from 2 servers from international companies who are dealing with the offshore business. And the offshore business is a very secret business, so this kind of was chilling that we now have the data of these companies. I can't tell you right now, and maybe not even in the future, how we got the data, or how the data got out of the companies, but every system administrator knows once you connect your server to the internet, you're kind of vulnerable, so this happens. But 260 gigabytes is a lot of time to copy even over good connections. So my work there was to actually show the journalists what to do with the data, and the first thing I did, I hope I can recreate it here, was to do something that was actually, maybe restart. I have 3 virtual machines I have to change between to show aspects, because you can't compress a year of work into like 20 minutes or 15 minutes, I don't know how much you want to talk. Hello, show me, yes, thank you. These are not real passwords, like, they're not for security here, because, yeah, how to buy software, that's, we don't register the software, we don't send fingerprints to Microsoft, like we're so stupid. The whole level of paranoia and secrecy in the project came kind of real with the detection of prison and everything. You might track that topic and I might show you something to that too. But part of the hardware were 2 databases from these 2 companies, Podcast Trust and Commonwealth. And it's so easy to impress journalists with no data skills with just one finger. There is this access database, which is actually the brain of the company, which was in the hard drive. You have to reconstruct it and use the right access version, stuff like that, leave details out. But once we got it running, now this is the brain of the company. And if you access the database here, hopefully, you can say master client, and then say blah, something here, something. There you go to the field. I'll select my name. Let's say here. Whatever, then you see these people here, you click them, you should click them, select. And then you start getting all the details, and this is so fantastic stuff, because this is not like copied binary, this is hot connected stuff with all information of how they did business with the companies, with lots of protocols behind it when they were checking in companies and checking out companies and how they created stuff. This is really nice. That to actually kind of get to the data model, you have to be admin, which is kind of shitty. Or, now comes to the interesting part where you amaze journalists. You press the freaking shift key when you open a database. And then, ta-da, it opens the level of mode of access, and you can impress the hell out of ordinary journalists with, oh, what's this? You say, these are all the tables, like the SQL model, blah, blah, blah. You're hired. This is actually, for real, the start of working with ICIJ, and I was like, shit, if they believe I'm that good, I'm going to have a hell of a time. Because I'm maybe not that good. Anyway, so we have the tables and stuff. And to put an absolute fast forward to that, just coincidentally this weekend, very bright colleagues of La Nación published on offshoreleaks.icij.org a visualization of the two databases. There's another one with SQL. It was more complicated, more complex, blah, blah, blah. But still the same what you saw. And now if you put in some people, some countries, whatever, you get details. This was one of the stories we were in here in Germany. And yes, if you ask yourself, why this one? Because he's dead. Stories about dead people have the advantage they can't sue you, which is just something you have to really deal with if you go into people's privacy and secrecy. Also, if you're dead and you set up a trust for your children, then you're kind of tax evading for the money for your inheritance. So this stands in the room as the elephant. Did everybody pay its taxes when Gunter Sachs died? We don't know. Financial departments are investigating, but at least you now can see he had more than one trust, and if you double click on the trust, you can see how the links are. So this is nice. Of course, if you let's double click a little bit more, there should be everything in there. There are his sons, and where are they? There should be Klaus Alexander Sachs, like this is his son. And the nice thing is you can actually see everything in the list for him here. You see the addresses linked to it. And if you really want to do hot stuff, then you can have a CSV format, which is prepared to do social network display. So it's nodes and connections. So you have actually everything in the form to use it in Gephi or in other tools to visualize it yourself. Because this tool only goes so far as to display 100 connections, then it kind of chickens out because some people don't really have that fast connections, and we didn't want to put the server or anything else into more stress. But still, it's nice. People are using this. We're monitoring the search terms as of what people are searching for. Maybe we'll get a few ideas. And ICIJ is effectively crowdsourcing this stuff. Because after a phase of 4 months or 5 months of investigation, they now believe that journalists should kind of be aside from internet users and work collaboratively. If they say this person is interesting, this company is interesting, then they should be helped. So this is about databases. Here's another part which you never heard about because I maybe invented the term, software arcology. Software arcology occurs when you have a sophisticated tool, which is so later at the close. But it doesn't really help you in opening very old data formats. This was the key to understanding how the companies grew up, and it was a kind of when you get this hard drive, you have random folders and you kind of figure out, how did they do this? Is it like a file system with user files and a file system with server files, whatever? It was totally chaotic. But in between, there was a specific file system that I kind of knew, but I couldn't really put the finger on it. And I had it happen after one night's sleep. I woke up and kind of knew what it was. It was something called Microsoft Mail for PC Networks. Microsoft Mail for PC Networks is the very software Microsoft used before they changed to Exchange servers, but only for 9 months. In the version of Windows NT 3.5.1, in 3.5.0 it's not there, in 4 it's not there, so it's just this version, just for 9 months, it only existed that short time. And there are virtually no other details on this software than the Microsoft library and short entry in Wikipedia and some scattered stuff. There's no documentation, anything. But I kind of recognized it because at that time I was working in the physics department of the Dortmund University and handling the mail server, which was this. That was so amazing. The problem with that is, if you have this old email format, opening it up is hell. We rebuilt an NT 3.5.1 server virtually. Then we set up the software. When we saw it didn't work because we needed passwords, and the encryption method was kind of old but sophisticated, not for modern crackers. So what we did, we found software resetting the passwords, which was on a mirrored GeoCities account. That's really funny. If you know how old GeoCities is. Then we found out it was shareware. You had to get a key. The author was not available. We had to crack actually the software to put in a key that worked. And this helped us to reset the stuff. It's highly illegal. At that point, we just so much don't care because it took like 4 weeks, 2 people, not the whole day, but every day or an hour or two to figure out how to get this together. And then 20,000 more emails. No, 40,000 emails. Oh, super. 60,000. We kind of, step by step we get more out of it. And that was actually the history of the companies. If you see by these old date things here, this only even goes better to 1995, where the software was actually on the market, 1996. And we were so lucky they kept the archive somewhere on the server and the source copied it to this hard drive, not knowing what it was. That was really amazing. So we had a huge amount of other data, and this is, so I need to show you the final thing. What do you do when you have so much chaotic data and you have actually no clue what to do with it? You turn to software that the police and the whatever forces agencies use. This is a forensic e-discovery software, and it's usually used in cases where people get their hard drive taken away because they did some serious crime, or they believe to do some serious crime, or when the SEC finds a bank who's doing bad things. They go there, get everybody's department hard drives, copy it, put it back in the computer, and put it all together, and kind of figure out what people were doing. And since we're in this phase right now, and the talk about this NSA prison project is, just figure out for yourself, if you see us figuring out with the static data, what you can do with dynamic data, because it's kind of the same data you got there from the offshore leaks. By the way, I couldn't show you the offshore leaks data because there's still some personal stuff in there, like Swiss bank accounts, numbers and codes, passports, anything like that. So this will never be released, the 2.5 million files. And I actually don't have a copy. I left it with the two the two media partners, NDR and Süddeutsche Zeitung. But I have here something from Anonymous, which is ironically a security company which got hacked. And these three guys, Aaron, Phil, and Tad, they have their email accounts broken into. It's still available via BitTorrent, so if you want to download it, it's pretty interesting. So this is the search engine. It's actually now in German. What you see here on the left, as you can see, are kind of ways to select the data sources here. And then there's some stuff usually you use if you're in a multi-user environment. But here it gets interesting. You can filter the software type. What kind of email attachments do you have? What kind of file types do you have? Then the regular elements, it's interesting, like the ending is not right, or didn't detect what the data is. Maybe that's archived from TrueCrypt or something. Text has been removed from element that has been tampered with. And then it gets here to entities like all the email addresses, companies mentioned, talking about money, IP addresses, URLs, that stuff. And by saying stay here, I already filtered the amount of the data. And I have, usually I have a 3-monitor setup with 2 large-scale monitors, 27-inch, and a smaller monitor like a laptop, because you need room for this pane, for the right pane, to display the documents, because and it can a little bit smaller. And can do nice things like a diff between 2 documents. You come when people talk back and forth, you can actually visualize the difference. Of course, it's all Unix stuff, but it's glued together. The search engine by that is Lucene, if you know the Apache project, so it's a lot of open source into it. And if you follow up in the licenses part here of the help, you find a lot of good projects used for something, I don't know. What's really cool is the metadata. This is usually you have, as journalists, have to put a lot of work into figuring out where, like if you have Word documents, where they have been printed or have been setting up, and does it contain white text? Does it track changes? You can search for these things like specifically documents where people were having text tracking on and then kind of figuring out how the text could change. So this stuff. But the moment where everybody, sometimes, not everybody, gets impressed is that's the kind of boring list view. The kind of interesting view if you say, I want to see the network of people talking about the NSA. And this is where it gets interesting because it let me filter out a little bit like the people who are talking more about the NSA. This is the fucking brain of these three people on email. And believing that this can be done with our email and our network email stuff on a larger scale is kind of the thing that really scares me. Because this, when you filter a company from their mail server, where usually all the emails gets out unencrypted in and out, which NSA does, they know actually how the company is run or how people run their lives or something, because they kind of filtered out who is talking to who, maybe who's doing the hidden talk. Let me go back. That's the blind carbon copies this person sends out. Or this is the indirect copies. Everything on that has some kind of interesting relationship. Once you go down deeper into the specific topics, you have a better way also to see another view, which is called the event view. Then you see over a timeline how people were kind of communicating. So let me scroll that a little bit to the side. Because, again, you need a large monitor or whatever, video wall for it. Then you can, once you drill down to like 4 or 6 people, you can actually see how they communicate and fly over it. And always when you click here, see the corresponding document. And this is kind of really the thing that scares the heck out of you once you believe agencies can do that from the outside in real time on your data. But for us, it was actually fantastic because this huge amount of documents, 2.5 million, is not readable in lifetime by even 80 journalists who were included in the project, who were researching based from what we found out here. And so, yes, it helped, but it's kind of scary that this stuff exists. And it kind of is, for me, something that really pointed into you have to encrypt all your shit from now on, because you don't want to even give them the small finger if they kind of seize your hard drive or you lose your hard drive, that somebody can actually do that stuff. And then this interesting thing is the software grows during use. So we started a year ago with the software. It couldn't do all the fancy things they've shown you, but it couldn't do that what I'm showing you here, because it also has a web front end, and so it has nice visual libraries, which then more than one person can know, because it's kind of wired to this dongle, and this dongle is kind of time bound, so it only works for a specific time, and maybe even on a specific computer. Just a second. So once you've kind of filtered this down, you see the communications frequency of a person and over a specific topic and between two persons, and kind of can say this facet and this information. And this is the kind of interfaces I believe the agencies have, maybe even fancier, about data extraction from all of us, which is kind of scary.
Also, their slide presentations aren't really fancy.
No. They don't have to be. I mean, that's what people do who actually work there, but the other thing is done by contractors. And Unix is offering this product with server farms so they can actually eat petabytes of data for lunch. We have put a time scale, 260 gigabytes of data on an ordinary laptop with 2 cores working full time took about a week. Then we switched to SSDs. That took only a day, and then we kind of enhanced, because it's actually most of the stuff in Java with the kind of steroid version of Java, and then it went down to like 18 hours. So like 260 gigabytes, 18 hours, but this is only one blade, and if you have like a part of these things and you pre-filter the data, then you can do hundreds and thousands of people in real time. So this scales. Scary. So this is this. I'd like to show you about the tools. Actually, for $100 you can play with it for yourself, because While this software is incredible, 5-figure expensive, they have a small version which works up to 15 gigabytes. It's called Proof Finder. I think, yes. I'm not paid by them, by the way. We got all the software for good. And we actually checked the company Unix for the offshore database, as every journalist was checked. And you will laugh, but we found the mother company had some conflict of interest with offshore. They were in a scandal with, what do you call it, stock stuff, which brought us 1 week into panic mode because we believed they gave us, we had to believe they gave us the software maybe to spy on us. So we had everything like network scan and you name it, and just to find out if the software was spying on us. We were using it by that time on a non-network computer, but we still wanted to find out if it was their intention. It wasn't. But here it is, all the $100 are donated, so even the company doesn't take money out of it, but it does everything I've shown you. If you want to visualize and analyze your own email archive, or you have amount of PDF documents up to 15 gigabytes, then you can do the fancy stuff. That's for me. If you have any questions.
Aren't you afraid that they get after you?
Well, there was one moment that afterwards I was really thankful for it. When we came out on 4th of April, with the